Okay, go ahead with your thought.
And sometimes if we have a question, we can get on the mic and ask the teacher.
Yeah.
But you're the only one that has allowed it throughout. You know, some teachers have it muted, and they ask us not to use the mic.
Well, I kind of think that having the mics on for the students gives us more of a feeling as though we're in a classroom. Even though we can't really see each other, at least we have the ability to speak up, and I can maybe address issues as they arise. So as long as you guys are in a quiet space and the room is kept quiet, and because remember, I'm recording this. I mean, I have to record this, and other people have to listen to it. And we're entitled to conversations. I mean, if we were not recording, if your mics were on and I was just giving my lecture, there might be a point where I would let you engage your mic and speak to me. So the truth of the matter is, you know, why not be as liberal with it as we possibly can? This gives you the ability to say something at the moment you feel you need to, you know. And the only thing is, we just got to make sure that you guys and myself and everybody are in a relatively quiet space, so we don't end up with a really muddy sounding recording, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I like it this way.
Okay, well, that's good. I thought that most students feel that way. I always ask, but I generally get the same reaction. I've got very few people who aren't interested in doing this. And of course, if you're not, you can choose to mute your mic and then put it on if you want to. Let's say hello to Melissa. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. Did you send me an email? Were you the one that was saying you were sick or something?
No, I sent you an email about the discussion post.
No, that was me. I was last week. I was traveling from Indiana to Virginia. It took 2 days, and plus I came down with a cold.
Oh.
That was explaining why my week 1 was late.
Okay. So how are you doing, Melissa? How do you feel about the class so far?
I like it.
Okay.
I did have a question whenever, you know, I don't know if you want to just wait till after class or whatever, about my last week's assignment.
You can, yeah, we can do that just before you leave.
Okay.
All right. Unless it's something that you need to, unless it's something that, you know, you need to address like for the entire class. Is it something that you think everybody needs to know about?
No, oh, it's totally up to you. I was just, well, I can just ask you if you want to wait and answer it after class, that's fine. But I think what your comment was that my work needed the one logo needed refined, and yeah. I just wondered what that meant, refined.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you would like, we have a class tomorrow night. Do you think you'll be here tomorrow night?
Yes.
All right. Well, you know what you could do? You could send me a PDF of your logo, the one that we're talking about, and I'll go over it with class. I'll go over it in class with you a little bit, and we'll talk about it. Again, you know, one of the best things to do when you're working on logos like this, and I've just worked on several logos for this company I'm working for. So, and I love doing them. They're really, I don't get a chance to do them very often because they generally hire very specific people to do that. But this is a smaller company that I'm working for, and they had me do it, and I was very happy to be able to do it, you know. One of the most important things, first of all, is lynda.com has a couple of extremely good video courses. They're short, too, on developing a logo, putting a logo together. And also, you can get a lot of good information out of, believe it or not, YouTube, you know? And then, of course, one other thing is that you basically can do Google searches to come up with logo design. And you'll find all kinds of things that you can read about and get some more information about. And as far as designing logos are concerned. It really is something that as you grow as a graphic designer and as your taste develops and your sense of design develops, you're going to find that overall your work will improve. And I'll tell you, I've been doing this, believe it or not, since 1971. And there's still things that I can learn. You know, it's always the way it is.
Yeah, that makes it pretty interesting. And then also the software is always evolving, so you have something to learn there.
Yeah, there's something about this video that we're going to look at shortly. They're talking about this, I guess it's called Touch Type tool or something like that.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah, I haven't really played around with it very much. It's not in CS6, which is the one that I prefer. I have Creative Cloud on my computer here, and it just stinks. There's something with that particular version that I have. It's just crap. It's so bad. It's annoying. My CS6 works so much better. I understand that they have new updates for us, and I have to eventually get in and get them for my computer. The school has new updates for us, and I have to pay $10 a year or something for it, which, you know, I don't mind paying the $10 for it, but it's just that, you know, this one I got for free, and I have more trouble with it. It just doesn't work real good, you know?
Huh. I have the latest updated whole suite on my computer, and it's working fine for me.
Yeah, I have all kinds of issues with mine. I really do. It's just a pain in the neck. So let me talk a little bit about what we're going to be working on this week. So you have a discussion. The important thing to understand is that the discussions, you need to have your initial post in by Wednesday for full credit. And you need to try to do at least 2 different days of at least 1 reply to a student. And they shouldn't be just replies saying, oh, that works very nice, thank you. You know, you need to, you know, really have a little bit of a discussion, read what they have to say, and write something that would maybe be in the way of a critique or some sort of a suggestion or a question regarding how they did something. You know what I'm talking about. You make it a little bit substantial. You only need to do 2 of them. And really try to avoid, since this is a forum, this is where I think a lot of students don't quite get it. This is a forum. And since it's a forum, you know, if you wait until the very last minute, like the end of the day, Saturday, you're not really participating in the forum because nobody really has a chance to reply to you because everybody's more or less done with their participation in the forum by the end of the day, Saturday, and you're just putting it in to see whether you can get a grade on it. So, I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to give you a grade because you put it in, but I'm not going to give you a top grade for it because, I mean, I mention it time and time again that, you know, it's a forum, and the whole point of this is an exchange of ideas and thinking. And you really should be participating as early in the week as you possibly can. And I know that, you know, I know that everybody's got a busy life and everything, but I assume that everybody really wants to be a designer. And I'll tell you, you know, I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I go to work and I work all day, come home at 6 o'clock, I swallow a couple of pieces of pizza, which is what I did tonight. And then I come in here and I teach for another 2 hours. And then after I get done with that, I have to process my video to put up online for you. So, you know, and I'm not trying to moan or groan or whine or anything, but I just want you all to understand I absolutely love doing what I do. I'd almost do it for free because I love doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? And the place that I work, even though it is not the most ideal place, I'm basically in charge. So, I mean, I love that. I love to be able to go in and explain what I'm doing and have people listen to me and trust me, believe me, and like what I do. So, I mean, this is my life, and I put it as much into it as I possibly can. And I can only say to you, you should do the same thing. Not for me, for yourself. You really should. Look at it this way. You are what you make yourself. And the best way to make yourself something is by learning as much as you can. And again, you're going to find that you'll learn something all the time. As I say, I've been doing this work since 1971, and I look at the work that I did. I have a few pieces laying around here that I did back in 1971 in that area, And I look at those things and you know, it's almost painful to look at them because I was so bad. I was untrained. I didn't know anything. And I had people who were willing to let me work for them and do things and tolerate the crap that I gave them. And it wasn't that I was deliberately giving them the crap. I was giving them my best, but at the time I was totally unknowledgeable. I knew nothing. And it really does take time for you to develop, not only time, but interacting with your different instructors, interacting with different people, whether you do it on a freelance basis or whether you get a job, and processing work. All of these things will ultimately help you develop. And then, of course, whenever you have free time, you know, get the computer out, go into Lynda. Well, I mean, I don't know whether you have lynda.com or not, but when you can afford to, get lynda.com for self-training. Go to YouTube if you can't afford it now. Believe it or not, there's a tremendous amount of people out there who are trying to help others in YouTube. I mean, I have a YouTube site. My site is where I put everything, you know, and I leave it there. It's always there. I'm not going to take any of it down. And who knows, somebody goes in there sooner or later and checks it out, you know. So it is up to each and every. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You gonna say?
I was going to say, if you have a YouTube site, is it listed somewhere in our where we could get to it?
Oh well, whenever I post your course, the recorded sessions, that's my YouTube site.
Oh, okay.
Every class that I've taught so far is listed there and kept there. I don't take any of them down, the good or the bad. You know, there are nights, I'm going to be totally honest with you. You know, there are nights when I feel like, you know, I'm almost cross-eyed and I'm sitting here talking and half the time I'm thinking to myself, what am I saying? You know what I mean? You just have a bad night or a night where I'm tired or whatever. Or, you know, it's just after being busy all day, you come home and you try to organize your thoughts. You try to get calm and cool and collected and come in. And, you know, sometimes you're really good and other times you're not, you know. Last night I had a class and it just seemed like it was a disaster for me. You know, I was tired and everything I did didn't seem to want to work out. This is the way it is. And, you know, hopefully, again, as I say, hopefully you guys will get into situations where you'll be able to learn. And what's a really good thing is to get around situations where you can be with very creative people who can, whether they do it deliberately or accidentally, can teach you. I worked for people for many, many years, and many of them were rotten people, really horrible human beings. But in spite of that, because we were working and we had a goal, they were able to share with me information directly or indirectly because I was willing to learn it. I was willing to listen to them, to pay attention to them, and try to understand what they were doing with me at the time. And it all helps. It all helps you to grow. And that's what you're doing right now. And as I say, you never stop growing, I guess, until you're dead, really. You know, I mean, there's always some new angle that you need to adapt to as a graphic designer. Sure, you may have a lot of the basic stuff down, but there's always something new that comes along that you need to add. You can't ignore anything, I guess, is really what it is. You know what I'm saying at all?
Yes.
So that's what I just, in order to, you know, just make sure you get it, try to realize that when you're doing discussions, I want to give you the best credit. I want to give you the points, all the points. So try to get the discussion in as early as you possibly can. Read what the requirements for the discussion post are and try to fulfill them as best you can. Look, nobody's perfect. I'm not saying it has to be perfect. But if I see in your post that the effort's being made to do what you're supposed to do and to get it in within the frame that you're supposed to be getting it in, and you're following the directions to the best of your ability, I'm a lot more forgiving than I am if I see somebody just throw things in at the last day. You know, it's 9 hours, I'm like, this person's really not trying. Don't mean to be rude, but that's the way it appears. They got it in their head that, the deadline is 11 p.m., 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, end of the week. And that's what they need to do. No, that's not correct. That's the drop-down deadline for me to not knock 20% off for being late. You guys understand that, right? If you guys are later than that, I'm knocking 20% off for you being late, because that's what I have to do. I don't want to do it. That's what I have to do. You know what I mean? If I don't do it, they're going to be saying to me, why aren't you doing this? So that's what that is. It's a drop-dead date for getting it in. But there are a lot of people that will get it in just, you know, a couple of hours before that. But that's not in a discussion forum. That's not really participating in the discussion. That's just getting it in. And I don't want you to just get it in. I want you to show me that you really are interested, not in me, in yourself. Because that's what this is really for. It's not for me. I'm just here to talk to you and show you some things and answer your questions and make myself available to you and let you know when I'm available so that you can get some help from somebody who knows a little bit. Because that's what it is, really. I'm somebody who knows some stuff. And I've experienced some things. Excuse me. Now I'm going to have trouble with my throat. And, yeah, so that's really what it comes down to. Okay? This is a very strange discussion this week. So this week's discussion, it's asking you to consider designing your own logo as a graphic designer. And the question, which I think is a little bit odd, is do you want a simple logo, a logo type that is cheap to reproduce, or do you want a graphical element in your logo that will make your logo shape easy to recognize? What do you guys think about that?
I was thinking both. I want both.
Well, yeah, but I think there's a more important point. When you create, this is where we're trapped. This is where we really are trapped. We're the designers. It's our job to impress people. It's our job to get a job, and the way to get a job is to impress people. And I'm not saying to impress people you have to spend huge money, but you have to try to do the very best you can for everything, but certainly for yourself, because you're walking in on a job interview, or you're going to go and meet some people, hopefully to talk about work, and you're going to bring some material that you created for yourself to help you get this work. You know, other people are doing the same thing. And really what it comes down to is that you have to kind of do something, or try to do something, that's going to make you stand apart from the other people. There's many ways that you can achieve that, but certainly one way to do it is to create something really good for yourself when it comes to identity, graphic elements, and designs. So while it's asking you, do you want a simple logo that is cheap to reproduce, or do you want a graphical element in your logo that will make your logo shape easy to recognize? I'm not exactly sure that creating a great graphical element represents expensive or cheap. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure that you're the one that's going to be creating that. So it's your time. You're not paying anybody for that, right? You're not paying anybody to do that. You're doing it by yourself, for yourself, right? Am I right?
Right.
So
right.
really, it doesn't necessarily equate to it being expensive or cheap. And probably, if you do this right, and if you've been listening so far to what we talked about, you know, when you create logos, the object is to not create a 50-color logo. You know, usually you're going to be working with 1 to 2 colors. And it's the same with fonts. If you're going to be working with multiple fonts, you want to try to limit yourself to 1, maybe 2 fonts. That's it. I'm sorry, what? Did somebody say something? Is that me? Oh, that's just me. I'm hearing reverb. Okay, so that's what I want to say. Somebody's mic is on. Can we figure out who that is? Oh, there we go. Who was that? Which one was it that had the problem with their mic? Or is it all of you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Just checking.
Who's this?
This is Stacy.
Okay. Okay, and I don't think I'm reverbing through you because if you have your mic on, right? Oh, I see. Eric and Melissa have got their mics on. All right, so listen, Eric and Melissa, I don't know who is reverbing, but if you do want to speak to me, you know, just unmute yourself and speak up. All right, so I'm almost done with talking about the discussion. Are there any questions or any criticisms you want to make to me about the discussions? Any problems or anything at all before we move ahead? We're good?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. And you understand where I'm coming from with this. I mean, really, when we talk about a forum like this, what we're trying to do with this forum. Oh, and another thing, you guys are in a 300 level class, right? This is 300 level, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys have been through 100 level classes and 200 level classes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I got one more question for you. Has there ever been a class that you've been through here that hasn't had at least one discussion forum a week?
No.
Okay. So you guys by now should really know what's expected and why or how I should say, how the discussion forums work and why they are the way they are. And the other thing too is, remember now, you know, you people are graphic designers and you are in a class, and the closest you can come to interact, well, I mean, other than perhaps talking to each other, which I imagine every one of you got one or two people, right? Am I wrong that everybody got at least one or two people that you know from being in the school that maybe you communicate with, or am I wrong about that?
Yep, I do.
So you meet people, you get to know them, right?
We talk on Facebook a lot.
Good. So that's one of the benefits of being in a school. You ultimately meet new people. So this is a way for you all to communicate. This is one way for you to communicate it. And the other thing too is that by now you know that you're going to be getting graded on this. So the bottom line is you want to get this thing done as best as you can. I have to tell you something. I can find time through the course of my busy day to stop in and check things, at least if it's only 10 minutes, I can find several times through the course of my day, even if I do it at lunch, where I go in and I just log in and I go and look at my courses and see if there's something I need to do. And you know, I have responsibilities too. I mean, I have to set up the course to some degree. I have to post things in announcements. I have to send emails to you. At some point, I'm even supposed to make phone calls to all of you, and I hope to be able to do that. So, I mean, you know, I have to find time to do all this stuff too. And as I say, I work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 8:30 to 5:30, those 3 days. So, you know, it's and I can't do a lot in that time because somebody's paying me. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it is. All right. So anyway, I just want you to think about this very carefully. When you think about your logo, what would you do with your logo? I'm not really sure that you would go and try to cheap it out. I don't really think that that's the way you want to go. However, you might have a rationale for doing that. I definitely think the bottom line is your logo has to exhibit star quality, which is up to you to do. And, you know, the rest you can take from there. So that is your discussion. And week 2 assignment reads something along the lines of this. Many designers never even know how many type features Illustrator has. And I probably am not going to be able to get to all of them tonight. I'll try to get to some of them tonight, and I'll try to get to some of them tomorrow night as well. We're going to be exploring typography tonight and tomorrow night, and importing and handling amounts of text, text on a curve, and more. There's a lot of more. Typography is the designer and illustrator's most multifaceted weapon. As a matter of fact, if you know really what graphic design is all about, it's a combination of several things. The printed word, graphic images and symbols, color, and objects. I mean, maybe photos, maybe illustrations. So graphic designer has a series of things that they work with, whereas a painter or a sculptor might not necessarily have the same group of things that they're working with. So we are kind of in a very special niche as graphic designers. And the other thing as graphic designers, we also have to, most of the time, we have to promote or create visuals for somebody's product or service or some such thing as that. And ultimately, that's what we get paid to do. Very seldom does our work end up in galleries anywhere. You know, most of our stuff gets used and used up. So it is a kind of a different thing. And typography is one of the most important things for us to understand. There's good typography and there's bad typography. And, you know, you'll ultimately, one thing I would recommend that you do is that you try to look at as many pieces as you can online, and whenever you come across a piece of paper somewhere, pick it up and look at it. I did that for years. I really did, believe it or not. I did it for years. I picked up and looked at everything that I could get my hands on. And a lot of times when I was learning programs like Illustrator and Photoshop, I would look at interesting things that were being done in some of these publications, and I would see if I could figure out in my head how I might do it in a program like Illustrator and Photoshop. And if it was something that really did impress me, I would actually go in and I would actually play with it and see if I could get some sort of a result similar to, these are just some ideas that I throw out at you to maybe, you know, move you forward and try to get your learning going, because you can learn an awful lot visually just by looking at what other people are doing. Not to say that you want to copy what other people are doing, but you can begin to learn different principles. I'm sure you're all by now familiar with the craft principle. Well, there are many other principles as well, and there are many different principles in color and many different fonts. Geez, there might be, you know, like many thousand fonts out there. More than we're ever going to own in one place, probably. But there's good fonts and there's bad fonts. And you have to learn through experience what are the good fonts and what are the fonts to avoid. That will come with time. We're going to be looking a little bit more into fonts tonight. So what you're going to do, you're going to actually be working on a graphical poster. And it's going to be an 8.5 by 11 event poster. So it's, you know, it's a small poster. It's not really a full-size poster. But I want you to, even though it's an 8.5 by 11 poster, I would like you to try to give it a poster look. When you think in terms of poster, billboards, because they're very similar. Posters, placards, billboards, they're all very similar. And one of the things that you have to understand, one of the things that's very important for you to understand is that you have to really distill things down quite significantly when you make a poster. You're not making a brochure. You want your message to be very clean and very minimum. You don't want a whole lot of information on it, on a poster or a billboard. You know, a billboard is even worse than a poster because a billboard is a moving target. And if your poster is complex and beautiful, it will stop somebody who will sit for a sec or stand for a second and look at it. A billboard is dangerous because if you make it too complex and if it's too good, people are going to want to look at it and they're not paying attention to driving. So really what your ideal situation would be for you to create something that almost sets a bell off instantaneously when you see it. So that's what my challenge is to you. When you create your poster, see how simple you can make your poster. See how essential you can make it by doing nothing more than what you absolutely must do on that poster to make it work for whatever you choose. And they don't give you a particular person or company or product to make your poster on. It's totally up to you. You can even make a poster for yourself. I have no idea. I mean, if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me. But the bottom line is you're giving a lot of freedom with this just as you were given a lot of freedom with the logo project week 1. And I just wanted to point out to you that some of you guys really came out with some nice logos. Really impressive, really. So choose your typography very carefully. I can't tell you that enough. It really is important. There is a lot of junk photography and or typography, and it's very difficult, even for a great designer, to take something which is really crappy and make it a gem. It's very hard. So that's why most designers, as they go along, pick favorites, fonts that they like, fonts that they feel comfortable with, fonts that they have used in the past and feel that they have the ability to manipulate in the most promising way. So think about that. Oh, and you can use photographic images, but they must be converted to vector format using Live Trace. Does any one of you not know your way around Live Trace? I take it from your silence you all kind of know it. I am going to demonstrate it tonight. I have it.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Melissa, were you going to say something?
Oh, I said yes.
Oh, you know it. Okay. Francis, did you have something?
Just a little bit. It's been a while.
Well, the only reason I bring it up is because in your instructions it says you can use photographic images, but they must be converted to a vector format using Live Trace. So, you know, if you plan on using pictures, I think that's great. But you're going to have to bear in mind that you'll need to do a Live Trace on them. I have tonight and I have tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, if you would like, you guys all have my email address. If you would like me tomorrow night to discuss anything that you're working on, like last week's work or where you are with it right now, you know, if you send me a PDF of whatever piece you would like me to talk about, I will do so in class tomorrow night. I have no problem doing that. So it's totally up to you whether you want to do it or not, but if you want to do that, send it to me, and I certainly will include that. Tomorrow night, though, we are going to be working on different things regarding fonts, and I'm going to show you, I think I'm going to show you some techniques that are just general techniques that I find are valuable. And I do have a poster that I created. It's an actual poster that was used at Vonage when I worked for Vonage. And I'm going to show you how to take a piece of art, which is actually, you shouldn't call it a piece of art, it's a photograph. And I'm going to convert that photograph into a graphic the way I did when I worked on this project in Vonage. And I'm going to show you how I used it in the poster. So that's that. And your poster can be either portrait or landscape. You want the name of the event, the date, the time, location. I'm not going to go through all this. You can find this in your discussions. And you have an assessment here based upon a critique from your instructor and fellow classmates. Choose your strongest logo from week 1 and develop it further. See, now this goes back to what I was saying to you about being more involved in the discussion forums, because obviously I tried to give you something positive and something critical about your logo when I looked at them. But if you had put your logos in the forum early as possible, you would have probably gotten a little bit more feedback from your fellow students. And as I say, if you want, you can send me any round that you want of your logo. Since that's really what we're working on, send me that logo tomorrow before class tomorrow night, and I certainly will bring it in here, and I will discuss it with you. So that's really all of that. That's the formality stuff. I guess I got a final question is, do you have any questions? Is there anything you need to be clarified, or is there any comments you want to make before I move ahead? You good?
I'm good.
Okay. Everybody else is, I assume. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I have a number of videos, and one of the reasons that I'm showing a few of these videos, they're about the closest I could come. I didn't have a great deal of time to prepare videos, but these 3 videos aren't too bad, and they're all from lynda.com. Are any of you subscribers to lynda.com?
No.
So there's a problem. The problem is that, you know, I Only way I can show you a video that comes out of lynda.com is to do it in class, because if I sent you the links, you would be denied access. You would not be able to watch the video. So I got a couple of videos here that I'd like you to just look at. They're not terribly long, but this gives me the opportunity to actually get them into the group. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to play. I got 3 videos. One is talking about Illustrator, and in this case, it's a poster they're working on. They're going to talk about type. And then there's 5 free fonts for your work, and I'm not totally sure what that is because I didn't get to listen to the whole thing. And then creating and adapting a logo, and I hope I didn't show this last week. Let me know if I did. I don't think I did. So here goes the first one.
Illustrator launched, and this file opened before I had a chance to turn on the capture software, but when you try it out for yourself, you'll see just how really lightning fast this is. So I'm just going to do a few things in here. First of all, let's have a look at the layers panel. So if I open this up, see it comes in on one layer, but if I twirl that open, everything has its own sub-layer in here. So I can do various things, like I can clearly see that's the 3 parts of the tiger there. So I'm going to click on this one and shift-click on this one and this one to select them. And then I'm going to group them. I could do various things then if I wanted to, like name the group first, which would be a really good idea to do that, make it easier to find. I could double click on it to isolate the group and then kind of go in on these things, double click again and double click again to go in, so I'm right into that particular thing. I say this is a clipping group just here, but I could model this, I could get the blob brush in and maybe paint in a few bits down here. If you double click outside of that, I can see the text. I can see where I made a bit of a boo-boo just there. I didn't send that all the way to the back one. So let me just see if I can pick that up. There it is there. I'm going to actually delete that. So just notice that this is in kind of a group. So what I'm going to do is just name that group text just there. Make it easier for me to pick it up. Double click on it and let's move around here. I'm going to hold down Shift and tap T to get us a touch type tool, and I'm going to make this larger. I don't need to hold down any additional keys. Holding them in that top right hand corner, it keeps it all proportional. And I'm going to come back and click and try and get the I character just there. I need to move that G out of the way. It's just like moving objects. It's fantastic. I just want to try and make this look a little bit less regular, really, I guess, what I'm trying to do here, so that move the baselines around a bit as if I'd hand-lettered it, which of course I clearly did not. So let me just drag this along, bring this down a bit. There we go. It's kind of cool. Try and do the same deal there with the R. That was more successful first time out. There, get the A. Bring that in a touch. So we'll get the I. Yep. Bring that in. And then just finally get this L. If I can just grab that. Bring that on there like so. Nice. Go to the selection tool and double click outside of that. So I've got that object just there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a group of that. Actually, I could ungroup this first. That would be kind of nice. It doesn't need to be in a group. In fact, it seems to be in a couple of different things going on there, but that's of no consequence. So I'm going to hold down that Alt key and drag a group just there. So I've got another group called Tiger Trail. And fill this one with black, like so. I'm going to use my layers panel here to do work for me. I'm going to drag this one underneath that one, and using my arrow keys and a bit of shift key to accelerate it, move this into position, and then select both of those things and group those together. So there's a nice bit of text stuff going on there. I could, I suppose, have made a pattern with these leaves. That would be kind of nice. Let me just do one more thing here. So I'm just going to move this across here and get my line tool. I'm going to draw a line coming up here, like so. Let's give that a little bit of weight so we can actually see it. Let's make it 2 points just there. And then I'm going to draw another one coming up from there. So let's draw one bending in that way. And just zoom out a little bit, just make this easier. I'm a bit quick with the mouse sometimes. There we go. Do that one there. And I'm going to select those three things. So just use the select similar button just here, and that's focused on strokes. And you may remember in an earlier movie, we created a brush. If I go to my libraries, there is that brush. You can see the Photoshop one is grayed out because it doesn't have context in Illustrator. So I can come along and click this one. And then I'm going to choose one of the colors from the library before. Now, I didn't notice that the fill swatch was in front there, so these have now got a fill. If I just go back to this and do that stroke color there, like so, that's kind of nice. I'll zoom in on that. Let's have a look at that. That's adding something to it, I think. I'm going to use the Shift key and the selection tool to select the background, and I'm going to send all of that lot down to the back like so. And let's have a look at how that worked out. So that's just in about 5 minutes messing around in there, pulling things around. Of course, I could do so much more with this, but hopefully it gives you an idea of how powerful this, creating a layout in this way and just bringing it in. All you're doing is enhancing and refining it in the desktop product. Really, really powerful. So in the next movie, we're going to look at some of the options that we would have in Photoshop.
Okay.
So here's our file.
Whoops.
Open in.
Okay. So my first question is, how many of you guys regularly use the Layers panel?
I do.
All the time?
Yes.
Very good. Do you work with just primary layers, or do you actually get involved with the secondary layers or the subgroup layers, as this gentleman did in his video? Do you actually play around with the subgroup layers? Because what he did was he relied on the subgroup layers quite a bit to move elements around, which is a very powerful thing that you can do with the subgroup layers, especially if you're not really using more than one layer. I tend to use more primary layers when I work. I generally set up as many layers as I need to create the object, whether I do it immediately or whether I do it as I get rolling, but I generally use several primary layers, much the same way that you would use them in Photoshop. But there are a lot of subgroup layers, and you can do a lot of organizing things like you saw him do with the subgroup layers. And he also demonstrated that touch type tool. Now, I haven't used the touch type tool very often, but what I found fascinating about it is that you actually have the ability to manipulate that text in exactly the same way as if that text were turned into outlines. You guys know the way, one of the things we'll talk about tonight and look at is creating outline type, which essentially means that you destroy the text's ability to be a text object, and it becomes just a graphic shape. You guys know that, right? You're familiar with that?
Yes.
Yeah. So this gives you the ability, this touch type tool gives you the ability to actually move those characters around as you saw him do, and that text is still live text, which means he could go in and change it anytime he wants. So that's quite an unusual thing. As I say, I never really played around with it too much. And for me, at least, there's a very good reason, because I find, and you might understand this, I find generally that at some point when I'm creating something, I have to recognize the fact that it's going to be sent to somebody else. And while I can maybe collect the fonts and send it along with the fonts, or I can risk sending it as a PDF, I generally like to take the precaution of creating outlines with my text. I don't want anybody, once it goes beyond me, to mess with my copy in any way. This is especially important for you if you're doing a logo. Now, when you're developing the logo, I'm not saying that you should do that unless the development of your logo involves manipulating one of the letters, which you can't really do when it's live text. You can't really manipulate it much more than what you could do with the text, with the touch type tool. you saw what he was doing. He was kind of moving the text around. That's about as far as you can go with that. But at some point, you'll take the text and select it and go object or go to type, create outlines. And now you no longer have text, you have graphic shapes. Nothing more than just basic shapes with some bonuses is what it really is. So any questions or any observations about the first video that you'd like to make with me?
Yeah, that touch type is pretty cool.
It really is.
You can do all of that with without the touch type, but this is a lot smoother and
right. What you're saying, you hit it right on the head. You can do all of that stuff. There are, if you look into the character panel, and you can actually do all the modifications that he's doing with the touch type tool in the character panel. However, by comparison to the amount of time it takes to do the same thing using the touch type tool, you're going to probably work maybe 10-15 minutes manipulating the text if you want to keep it live in the conventional way, because you're going to go into the palette and you're going to use different things. You're going to use like baseline shifting and kerning and tracking. All of that stuff is what you're going to do to get this. And the other thing too is that this thing is just like almost instantaneous. Yeah, it's a little tricky to get used to. I mean, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm really used to it yet. And again, as I say, there are often times when you want to do these kind of modifications to the type without actually converting it to outlines. So you're absolutely right. This is something which I think is a really quite a nice little benefit. Any other comments at all?
Where was that tool exactly, that touch type tool?
I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to go in and play with it myself. It's actually a new tool that's in the type tool. When you bring up the type tool, you know, in the type tool, you got the type, you've got the type on a path, type frame, or I don't know what the proper name of it. And then there's like the vertical and horizontal type tool, and then the one at the bottom is the touch type tool. So if you're in the right version, it's, I believe, a Creative Cloud thing. I don't have my, I'm on my computer where I have Creative Cloud, so I'm not on my CS6, and I don't believe it's in CS6. I believe it's a Creative Cloud thing. Anybody got CS6 still, or you're all in Creative Cloud now, aren't you?
I cheated and kept both.
On the same computer?
Yes, I haven't had any trouble. I know they said, don't do that, you'll have all kinds of problems. I haven't had any problems.
Well, do you have partitions?
What's that mean?
Well, it means that you can partition your computer. You can actually have two, you can take one hard drive and set the hard drive so it's partitioned, and there's two separate little places within that hard drive. Now, if you partition it, that's probably okay. It'll work fine. If you didn't partition it, you're lucky that it's not giving you trouble, because what they say is it gives you trouble. I'm having trouble with mine, and I haven't even, I mean, I just got the program on. I hate it. So you're very lucky. Anything else? Let's look at another video. This one here, 5 free fonts. I really don't know what this is all about. If it looks like it's something that's not really worth looking at, I'll ditch it. But let's take a look and see.
And welcome back to Creative Quick Tips. My name is Justin Seeley, and
he's usually pretty good, Justin Seeley.
5 fonts that you can use in your next design project. The best part is they're all completely free. First up is an interesting font called ErinQ. I love the openness of this font, and I think it can make for a great logo typeface or even used in some sort of signage project. You can grab it for free by going to dafont.com/ErinQ.font. Next up, Borg. Borg is sort of an unusual font, but I could see it being used as a headline font on a brochure or maybe even a poster. The letters are large and bold with some slight shape modifications, but it's still a very readable font. You can find Borg by going to dafont.com/borg.font. Homizio Nova is our next font, and it's just a very simple sans serif font that I think works really well for body copy and even maybe a subheading perhaps. The font comes in 2 weights and includes italic styles as well. You can pick it up by going to dafont.com/homizio-nova.font. You know, I'm a sucker for a good script font, and Redressed is exactly that. It's simple, elegant, and has a nice brushstroke feel to it that I really enjoy. You can download Redressed by going to fontsquirrel.com/Redressed. behance.com/fonts/redress. Last on our list is Atom, a remarkably simple font with clean lines and a heavier weight. I see Atom as being a really versatile font with many possible applications. Most notably, I think it would work great in some sort of urban poster design. It's definitely one of my favorites on this list. Atom is available from its creator by visiting his Behance profile at behance.net/Shrenik18. That's SHRENIK18. Well, there you have it. 5 awesome and free fonts for your next project. Try them out for yourself and see what kind of creative ways you come up with to use them.
All right. So now,
Hello, and welcome back to Creative Quick.
so now here's my question for you. Was that a waste of time? Do you think you're going to go and get those fonts?
Yeah, that wasn't a waste of time. I really liked all of those fonts that he showed.
They're very nice, aren't they?
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to make you understand is that there's a huge difference between a well-designed font and garbage. And there's a lot of garbage fonts. You just saw 5 very nice designed fonts that you can get for free. Very easy to go get them. As a matter of fact, I have them all already, and I will use them. I haven't used them all yet, but I will use them eventually somewhere or another. And I highly recommend that you go and you get them. You shouldn't have any trouble downloading them or installing them. Are all you guys on PCs, by the way?
Mac.
You guys,
I'm on a
who's
PC.
on a Mac? Who's on a PC?
Me, Liz, Francis Bailey.
Francis Bailey. Eric, are you on a PC or a Mac?
Mac.
Mac?
But I have a PC also.
Okay.
On the Mac.
Who's that, Melissa or Stacy?
Stacy.
And Melissa, what do you got? You got a Mac or a PC?
I have a Mac.
Okay. So you have to understand, if you don't already know, that there are fonts that are for the Mac and there are fonts that are for the PC. And you can't really put PC fonts on a Mac. They just don't work. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, TrueType fonts will work on either one. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, I think that's right.
TrueType fonts, but they're not all TrueType fonts. Go ahead, Melissa. Do you want to say something?
Which are these? Are these?
I don't remember. But when you go there, I believe they will have they will let you know whether it'll work for the PC or the Mac. And I have a PC. I don't know. You said you had a Mac though, Francis. Was that you who was just talking to me?
That was me, Melissa.
And you have a Mac, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know, but I think probably, since these are private fonts like this, it's very possible that the person or persons involved made versions for both the Mac and the PC. But you have to go and you check it out. I have a PC. I've got the fonts. They worked for me. So I guess ultimately I'd give it a try anyway. It's certainly not going to waste that much time. Any other questions about this? Because I'll move on. This is creating and adapting a logo. Did I show you this one yet or no?
I don't
I
know.
think so.
Okay, well then we'll watch it. It's not that long. Again, I do try to pick videos from lynda.com predominantly, because if I find ones that are available on YouTube, I might show one on YouTube because I want to wake you up to YouTube if you aren't already aware of it. I want you to take advantage of these things. There is a lot on there that you could learn just by watching these videos. And the only way you're going to do it is if somebody pushes you to do it. Lynda.com is a different animal, though. I mean, I'm a prescriber here. And the only way I really get to show you any of these things from lynda.com, and some of them are just excellent for, and as a matter of fact, I think the school might be working some kind of an arrangement with lynda.com. I'm not 100% certain on that, but did you have something you know, Francis?
January they're supposed to, but I don't know what day.
There you go. And you know what? That's a very smart move, because I will tell you right now, I could find you guys videos to watch all day long, and I'll tell you, they're all wonderful videos. And again, that's why I watch a couple of them in our live sessions. So I have a whole night tomorrow night. So, you know, it's not like I only got one night with you. I got 2 nights with you. So, you know, I try to do a number of different things through the course of those 2 nights. One of the things is to expose you to some good videos. So this is the 3rd one. Let's watch it.
In this chapter, I'll show you how I created the type for our logo. which clearly identifies the name of our client, while at the same time conveying such brand objectives as prestige and safety/dependability. In other words, this is an exclusive brand that you can trust. Now, our first job is to select the perfect font, which can be a tricky and time-consuming ordeal. And even when you come up with something you like, things may not go quite as you planned, which is why I'm going to walk you through a few different scenarios. Now, before I go any farther, a warning up front to those of you who may be working with my exercise files. Because I'm trying out so many fonts here, it's very likely you'll encounter the occasional missing font warning. And generally speaking, you can just ignore them. In all cases, I've converted the text to path outlines so you can view the files properly on any machine. Now, I started out on the Mac using a font that I discovered just by chance called Bangla MN. And I quickly discovered that this is not a font that's available on the PC in any way, shape, or form. So I tried, and I wasn't sure why. I did a little bit of investigation. And I discovered that there's a bunch of different MN fonts, and they're all Southeast Asian fonts, that is Indo-Chinese. And the MN stands for the designer, Muthu Netamaran. So these fonts provide access to a bunch of different non-Latin scripts. For example, Bangla MN is Bengali, and Gurmukhi MN, you'll find that one too, you Macintosh folks, is Punjabi, and Khmer MN is Cambodian, and so forth. So there's a bunch of these fonts. And if you want to try them out and get the same results, then you just want to make sure that the fonts do not include the word Sangam. And in which case, regardless of the font, you'll access these Latin characters right there. So there are Latin characters included with all of these fonts. Problem is, there's just no way to get to these fonts on the PC. And this is a pretty distinctive font. It has these variable width strokes. And we also have these angled ends on the stems of the B and the D and the H and so forth, the lowercase characters. And we've got these rounded terminals at the ends of the A, the lowercase a, and the C, and the top of the F here, and so forth as well. Turns out, however, I'm only interested in the uppercase letters where this logo is, which is why I ended up turning my attention to a cross-platform commercial font known as Ocean Sans Standard that's available from Adobe, by the way, although it is not part of Typekit at the moment. Specifically, we'll be using these two styles right there, semi-bold extended as well as book extended. And in the end, we'll achieve this result right here. This is some very good-looking text indeed. Problem is, of course, anytime you're working with a commercial font, you have to buy it. And as you can see over here on this Adobe page, each one of the styles runs 30 bucks. So to buy the two styles would be 60 bucks. If you wanted all 10 of the extended styles, you would have to pay $195, which is a little much to expect from you, I imagine. So I went hunting for some similar fonts here at Identifont.com, and I discovered these fonts right here, as well as a bunch of others over here on the left-hand side. Problem is, these are commercial fonts as well, so they're going to cost you money. So then I went searching for a free font, and I came up with this guy right here, Arsenal, which is available at 1001freefonts.com. In which case, and I used that font to come up with this alternate text right here, which you can compare to the original effect. So this is that Bangla MN text, and then this is the Arsenal alternative. So what I'm going to do in this chapter is show you how to achieve all three effects. So for those of you working on the Mac, I'll start by showing you how to set the logo using Bangla MN or one of the other MN fonts. Then regardless of platform, I'll show you how to achieve this effect using the free font Arsenal. And then finally, I'll show you how I achieved what I consider to be the most desirable result based on the commercial font Ocean Sans Extended and then customized to perfection here inside Illustrator. In this movie,
all right, I'm not going to go through the entire 4 or 5 videos. I chose the first video. Can anybody guess why I chose that particular first video? What do you think my rationale was for choosing that particular video? Anybody got it? Comment?
You like the fonts?
No, what I liked about it was it gave you links that you could go after more free fonts from. So that's what this really was all about. I wanted you to see a couple of videos. This video and the last video talk very specifically about how this person and the other person went in and found free fonts. I don't know how proactive you guys have been at gaining new free fonts. Have any of you done much of that through the courses so far?
I have, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so yes, I've done a lot of font searching. I've been known to spend a whole day or two just looking for the right font for my project.
Very good. Well, let me ask you this. Were these font sources that they discussed in the last few videos, were there any new ones in there for you?
There were a few. I've heard of Identifont and 1001 free fonts, or, and the font. That's one that many instructors talk about too.
Oh, good. Good. All right. Well, again, that's the real reason that I viewed those particular videos. Of course, the one video, the first video, it talked about a couple of techniques with the layers and with the touch type tool that I thought were very cool. And I really do want to impress on you how important. There's two palettes that I definitely think you need to be very friendly with and do it right away. The layers panel, the layers palette, and the appearance panel. Are you guys familiar with the appearance panel?
Not really.
Well, one of the nice things about the appearance panel is as you work on every single object, believe it or not, the appearance panel, if you bring it out and use it, is recording everything that you do to that object. So if you put a fill and a stroke on it, you can put a fill and a stroke on it, and it'll show in your appearance panel. If you do a 3D modeling effect, when you work with 3D modeling effects, if you want to go in and re-edit the 3D model, the only way that you get really back to the original settings that you put into that 3D model is through the appearance panel. Because if you try to go up and get it through the Effects 3D, if it's Revolve or whatever, and I'll show you this in a minute. In a minute, we're going to go into Photoshop or Illustrator, and I'm going to show you some stuff. But what happens if you do that is you put a new effect on it, and you mess the whole thing up. So it's a panel that I think is absolutely essential for you all to be familiar with, because it does help you do a lot of really great stuff. Okay? Any questions?
I have used that appearance panel when you said about having to do the click on it in order to adjust the 3D. That kicked my memory.
Really, the only way to go.
Yeah.
But it does so much more than that. That's the point. It does so much more than that, and you should be familiar with it. So, you know, get used to working with the layers panel. It is incredibly helpful. It really makes things a lot easier for you when you can isolate and lock layers so that when you're working on other objects, they don't get it. The things that are beneath it or ahead of it don't get in the way. It's just great. It's just a great way to do it. And you should have multiple primary layers. And don't forget that everything that you put on that primary layer still has its own subgroup layer. There are always subgroup layers on every primary layer. All right, any other questions? Are we good? I guess we are. Let me get this out of here. And I'm going to go to Illustrator. And I think what I want to do is, I spoke to you guys last week about the 3D modeling panel, right? Remember me talking about that? And I mentioned to you that I might show you how to do a chess piece. Does any of you remember me talking about that last week? Well, anyway, I got a chess piece here, and this was the piece that I got, And this is my tracing that I did from this. So in other words, what I did was I got this piece, which is a bitmap. See how that's a bitmap? And I went in and I actually physically traced this. I could very easily have taken this thing and I could go to the object menu and I could go to image trace, make, and you see I get this image trace. And if I come in here and open up my image trace panel, you guys do much image tracing? Have you worked with this at all? You have a chance to get into this in any of your other classes?
Yes.
I played with it some. I even played with it to work on my logo this week, but
Oh, good.
I haven't really used it too much.
Okay. Well, it's a very powerful panel. And if you have the right kind of images, you can do incredible stuff. I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration with this one. So essentially, you take your bitmap and you image trace it. Now, this one here gives me a fairly decent result right away. However, what I can do is now this is in black and white mode, okay? If I come in here and go grayscale, I get this, okay? And I also get an advanced panel that I can play around with less grays. Let's see what happens if I knock the grays out. It doesn't quite take the gray away. I can then play around with the paths. I can go all the way down to the end, and you see what it does to the shape? It kind of like makes the shape appear as though it's melting. So essentially, you're in your advanced path low, what you're doing is you're losing a lot of the detail because you're simplifying the paths. And as I go up, you're going to see that the paths become more acute and stronger, better rendered. And you keep going up, and you'll probably reach a point where you just don't get much more. But you can come all the way up here to 100%. And yeah, I was able to go to 100% on this. You can see that it's a pretty reasonable facsimile. Let's go to the corners and knock the corners down, see if that changes anything. Doesn't seem to be doing very much. Go all the way up on the corners. Not a lot happening. The other thing is noise. You could put in a lot of noise. Doesn't seem to be affecting it much. Generally, you remove the noise. It's about where it should be. So that is more or less what you have here. And now you can come to the object menu and you can go to image trace and you can hit expand. And now we basically have object ungroup, and click on this and hit delete. And you got a little bit of junk down at the bottom here, but you can delete that. What you have basically is a pretty good facsimile of that that chess piece. And of course, you know, I applied a multicolor gradient to this. And let's go to window and let's go to gradient for that. Here's my gradient. And you guys are all familiar with gradients. But what really is cool about this is that this started out as a flat piece of art, didn't it? It's flat. There's no detail on it. And the best I can do in the short term with Adobe Illustrator is I can go in there and I can put some kind of gradient on it, or I can play around with it to try to color it, and I could end up with something that's sort of like this, you know, and I can kind of move the sliders around a little bit and, you know, change the condition of how this thing looks, you know. But I'm not getting what I consider to be a very satisfactory resolution. Then you look at these guys right down here. What do you think of these two down there? What do you think of those two guys? Who wants to make a comment about that?
They look three-dimensional.
They sure do, don't they? So you know something is going on here, and you'll notice that I have one in black and I have one in white, right? And I got a third profile that I've created in red. So the first thing that you need to know is this is going to be a 3D revolve. There's two different types. There's a 3D revolve and a 3D extrude and bevel. You guys, who was here last week? I know Eric was, I'm pretty sure. Were you other guys here as well?
I was.
Melissa, Francis, and Stacy, were you here or no? Not a problem if you weren't. I'm just wondering.
No, but I watched the recording.
Okay. Do you remember me taking the type and doing the very quick little 3D extrude and bevel on the type?
Yes.
Do you remember that at all?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's the extrude and bevel, and I will do that again tonight just so that you can see it. But the reason, and this is, I'm bringing this in because I just think this is so fabulous that you really got to see this. You can create crazy, accurate, realistic bottles, cans, any object that you can revolve, you can make. And what's great about it is not only can you make it, but you can rotate it in 3D. So you can have it in any kind of position that you really want. It's quite good. Now, is it a full-blown 3D program? No, it's not. But it's close enough that you can create some very sophisticated-looking renderings and impress yourself. Believe me. Not only that, but these things can be used. I mean, you can literally expand these things and use them. You can print them out, and they're just beautiful. So one of the things that I want to do here is I'm going to get rid of transparency and this, because I'm not going to be playing with color on this. But before I was talking about the appearance panel. There's the appearance panel. Now, the appearance panel, we're going to do two things with tonight. I'm going to show you how to play with type on this. Now, remember, too, I'm also here tomorrow night. So I'll have a lot more stuff that I'm going to be covering tomorrow night. But they're going to be little things. What I'm going to be doing are a lot of little things that relate to what I consider to be some of the best quick things that you could fool around with in Adobe Illustrator. That's where I want to head with this. So I'm going to bring the appearance panel over here, and I want you to see right now it just has a default stroke of none and an opacity and a fill of a multicolored gradient. Why do you think that's there? It's there because I had that clicked, and you see what it's doing is it's showing me the last object that I had clicked. Watch when I come over here and click on that. You see what it did? There's no stroke on it. But there's a fill, and the fill is basically a solid gray. Now, watch when I click on this. Okay, this is different. This has got a 1-point stroke, and it's red. So this panel, what it really does is as you do things to your object, it literally shows you what you've done. And you can go in and you can modify things. One of the great things about this panel, I don't know whether any of you are aware of this or not. I'm going to tell you this and show it to you in a little bit. Did you know that you can manipulate the arrangement of fill and stroke on objects by using the appearance panel? Did you guys know that?
No.
So I'll give you a good example of where that would take place. So let's say, and I'll show you this in a minute because I'm going to go back to the 3D logo and we're going to play with that next. You can literally take, right now you have the stroke and that's on the top layer. And then you got the fill. You guys are familiar with Photoshop, right?
Right.
Yeah. So when you have Photoshop and you have a layer at the top of the layer stack, what is the stacking order of that particular object? Do you know? It's on top of or in front of every other object, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So right now, if you have a stroke and then you have a fill, that stroke, because it's in a higher position than the fill, will be in front of the fill, correct?
Yes.
Right. But we have the ability to drag these layers to another position. I'm not going to do it right this second, but I'm going to do it on another object. And we can then affect the arrangement of the objects and by virtue of that, affect the appearance of the object. So that's the next thing I'm going to show you. But what I would like to show you now is this. I got this red object selected. I'm going to go up to the window menu. I'm sorry, the window. No, effect. 3D. And this is not an extrude or a bevel. I could make it an extrude or bevel and I get something. Let's see what I get, just for the heck of it, just for the laugh of it. Let's hit preview. And not doing very much, is it? Let's try a custom rotation on it. Off-axis front. Oh, preview's on. Why is this thing not showing? See, I'm telling you, I'm having some real issues with this program. Let me hit cancel. I may not be able to do this. Let's go to the effect. Let's go to 3D. Let's go to revolve. Now let's hit preview and see what we get. Yeah, see, I'm telling you, there's something wrong with this program. I really don't know what it is. I can't get this to do anything. That's annoying. So really, unfortunately, for whatever reason I don't know, this just is not letting me. You know what? Let me try this. Let me hit cancel. Let me go edit cut. Let me go file new. Let's throw up a new file. And let's go edit paste. Okay, and let's see now maybe if I have this in a new program or a new file. Effect 3D revolve. Let's try it. Nope, it just is not doing it. Wow. Okay. So we can ditch that. Let's go close. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, it just does not seem to be working tonight. Let me see what I do. Let's see what you, okay, so you see the profile? Everybody see the profile there?
Yes.
And if you look over here in the appearance panel, there's your 3D revolve. If I click on the eye, it hides the 3D revolve. And if I click the eye back on, it brings the 3D revolve back into view. I can also, I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
So you made that little piece there just from the outline?
Yep. Yep, from this outline. I made that piece. Now, I could very easily, the reason I wouldn't do it though is because there's too many anchor points. You see that, all those anchor points there? If you take a look at mine, you'll see that there are many less anchor points. You see it?
Yes.
Okay, this has got all these anchor points. So I'm not just trying to make you think that I'm pulling wool over your eyes. I literally took this thing here and I enlarged it on my screen, and I used the pen tool to literally draw that edge so that it looks like that, because I wanted to control the number of lines or the number of anchor points on my object. Now, I want to show you that I can double click on the 3D revolve, hit preview, and see again for some, oh no, there it is. Now you see that pop up? I don't know what's going on here, but it's popped up. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I wanted to show you that you can take this thing and you can rotate this around. And you see what I'm doing? I'm rotating it around, and I can position that 3D model that I made in any position that I want at all. Isn't that incredible?
That is very cool.
Bring this thing down. And I mean, it's not like there's a whole lot of work to this. I mean, you basically just create your pattern. And this is the other part that's so incredible about this. Take a look at the pattern. You see how the pattern is sitting there? It's telling you this is me. But this is what the computer is creating for you. Let me hit OK on this. Check that out. See what I just did? I just literally took my shape that I created, and by fooling with it, and what's great about the appearance panel is, that's why I wanted this out so that you could get more familiar with it. I can come back in and I can double click on this again, and I can come in here and I can preview it, and I can come in here and I can modify it. Let's take it in a completely different direction. Let's tilt it up the other way. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that great? You gotta love it. I mean, that's just incredible, isn't it? You've got literally a three-dimensional object that you created here that you can do anything you want with. Now, it is limited to things that can be revolved, and it is limited to things that can be beveled and extruded. But you have to admit, that takes you pretty far, doesn't it? Really, when you stop and think about it.
So you only need to trace one side of it. You don't have to trace the whole thing.
No, that's the whole key, is that you're creating what's known as a profile. That's what this is. That right there is the profile in white that's being used to render that three-dimensional object. It needs to know what a slice of that object would look like, and then the algorithm of the program has the ability to go in and fill the other 360-degree views of that one little profile. That's the trick with this. Just creating a profile. So if you're going to do a can, you get a can and you create an edge, a profile of the can. If you're going to do a bottle, you can go in and just do the edge or the profile of a bottle. Exactly the same way as I did here. And then just fill it with a color that you want to use for the bottle. And then the nice thing about this is if you're working on something which is a bottle, you can actually go in there and you can put labeling on it by applying symbols to the surface. Again, I don't know whether any of you have ever done any of this or not. Have any of you done this? Am I showing you something new here, or is it something that you're sort of familiar with?
This is new for me.
I've used the 3D a few times.
For me too.
How successful were you guys with it?
Very
How was it?
successful. It's fun.
Got it.
I made a rocket ship using 3D, several 3D components put together.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
Well, as I say, not only is it fun, but it's pretty valuable. I mean, the stuff that you can do with this is just great. It really is. It's phenomenal. So, you know, again, I just wanted to show you this a little bit because this is something that we can use. And let's go to the next one here. Let's go to the 3D logo. And so here's the 3D logo. And again, what I did last night was I showed you this. Let me quickly demonstrate the touch type tool. So look, watch this. I'm going to bring out my type panel. I'm going to keep the appearance out because there's a couple of things I want to do to show you with appearance. So here's my type tools. You guys all know what the type tool is. Area type tool, you know what the area type tool is, right? Type on a path, vertical type on a path, vertical area type tool, and vertical type on a path tool. I never really use this tool very much at all. I never really do vertical type on a path. It just doesn't seem to come up. I just don't know. It doesn't work for me. I don't do it. Vertical area type tool, I don't really have much of a need to use that as well. Have any of you guys worked with these? Another one too is the vertical type tool. Any of you guys use any of them?
Yes, in a previous class.
Oh, okay. So you had an assignment that called for it?
Yes.
Or was it something that you did yourself?
No, it's a class.
Okay, so I kind of forced your hand then.
Yes.
Okay. What did you think of it? Did you like it?
It's okay.
Yeah, limited value, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and the type on a path tool is great because tomorrow night I'll probably show you how to put type on a path and give you some tips about that. And then, of course, the area type tool, which is valuable if you're going to import text, like a block of text, several paragraphs. This is the tool, though, that we generally use all the time. You guys know that in Adobe InDesign, you cannot create text without putting it in a text frame, right?
Yeah.
Are you aware of that? Illustrator and Photoshop are really the only programs. Well, I mean, there's probably Flash and a couple of others, but most of these programs, well, InDesign, you have to use a text frame for all the text you put on your page. Illustrator, you have the ability to work with the text, the line text. So, all right, back to what he was doing. Here's the touch type tool. So what you would do is you would come in here and you would click on the font. Now let's try to get that L. Let's see if I can get the L. There's the L. So what do I want to do with the L? I think what I want to do with the L is I want to try to move the L over. I don't know that it's going to let me move it over. It might let me move it up. Let me see if I can move it up. Yeah, I can move it up. I can move it up. There we go. So I move the L up, and I don't know whether I can move it to the right. See, it moves everything to the right, so it doesn't really like me trying to move it to the right. Let's see if I can get that one part. There we go. So now I got that. I can move that to the left, like that. Okay? And I end up with that pretty much, right? That's pretty close, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Now this type here, just so that you know, you guys saw me fooling around with this last week, didn't you? You guys kind of remember me doing it? And how did I do it, Eric? Were you here? You saw it. Remember how I did it? I used the character panel, didn't I? You guys there?
Yes.
I used the character panel. Eric, were you going to say something?
No, I was just agreeing with you. Yes, you did.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that I used the character panel last week, and I got this nice result here. And you'll notice that when I click on the regular type tool, or actually, let me get the selection tool, click on that, this is still live type. But I think if I open up my character panel, you'll see that the character panel has, well, it's not showing me. It's not showing me the settings anymore. I wonder if it does on this. Let's see if it does on this. Click on that, and let's go to character. And yeah, it's not showing me that either. But anyway, the way I adjusted the text here was I moved this text up on the baseline using baseline shift, and I moved it towards the right. That's how I did it. I just did it now using the touch type tool. So you guys got any questions about the touch type tool? Have any of you, none of you tried it yet?
I have not.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think after what I just showed you, you think you could try it and see how it works? Are you curious? Do you have any questions about how it works?
I think it looks a whole lot easier than using the character panel.
Well, it's quicker. It's not easier because you got to get used to it. It's not, once you get used to it, it's fairly easy, but it's incredibly quick. Let's see if I can do one more thing over here. Let's see this logo. Let's click on this. Yeah, and let's see if I can move this thing up. And I can. Look at that. That's cool. I can move it up. Now I'm going to see if I can get that O. Let's see if I can get that O. There we go. And I'll see if I can move that O over. And I want to do that. All right. Look at that. Come on, you gotta admit, that's pretty darn slick, isn't it?
Yes, that looks cool.
You really can almost not tell the difference between the one I did last week using the panel and this one. And if you watch me do it this last week with the panel, I guarantee you it probably took me at least a couple of minutes to do that. Of course, I was talking to you and explaining, but you saw how quickly I just grabbed the L, moved the L up, grabbed the O, and moved the O over. Now, okay, you know, it's a little bit tedious to try to catch the letter just right. You got to play around with it until you get the letter selected. Oh, actually, I got to have the font selected first, I think. Go on there. Let's try it now. All right, let's click on this. Maybe you don't need it. Now it's not working. There we go. Yeah, see, now it's not working. Oh, there we go. Got the O. All right. So anyway, I don't know why I'm not able to get the L on it, but I got the L. There we go. There's the L. See, you got to play with it a little bit. It's a little bit fussy, but again, it's something that I want you guys to play with. I really do. I'd like you to try it a little bit and see what you come up with. Now, this has got something here. I wonder if this will do what I think it will do. Yeah, look at that. Oh, my God, you're kidding me. I can rotate this. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, isn't that nuts? Look at that. So I can actually manipulate this until my, look at that. And then if I want, I can come in here and grab that O, and I can slide that over a little bit, and look at that. What do you think? Doesn't the instructor make it look easy? You guys can do this. This is really simple. And this is some cool stuff, I have to tell you. So really, I want you to try this. I want you to go in and play with this type tool and get some benefit out of it. All right, so here's what I want to do. I'm going to take this logo. I'm going to re-render this thing. Let me get it to be a color. Let's come in here and make it red again. I kind of like red for that logo. And let's hit OK. Let's go up to the Effect menu, and let's go 3D. And this time we're going to go Extrude and Bevel. And hopefully this will work tonight. Let's click on that. There we go. So we're off to the races, guys. Look at that, okay? Right away, I got a 3D model. I can play around with this all I want, and I can change its positioning. You got to admit, that's pretty great, isn't it?
Can you make the shadow or the 3D part darker or whatever to make it?
Yeah, what you can do, absolutely. What you can do is you can go into more options, and you can play around with the placement of your lighting elements. Okay, see how I changed the lighting element? So I bring the element over there. I can also come in here and I can add a new light. Okay, and you see how I added the new light, and as I drag the secondary light over to here, you see what it does to the logo?
Yeah.
So yes, you can. I can even click on that and I can send it to the back, and then you end up with something like this. And then of course, if you move your light up, eventually what will happen is you'll come into a situation where you'll get something sort of like that. So yeah, you're able to change this around and play with it and get all kinds of different looks. Bring that forward again, and you'll get different looks. So I mean, this you can. All I can tell you is, oh, and the other thing too is you can go with the extrude depth. You see how I've made that logo longer now? I think it's way too long, but I'm showing you could do this. Okay, let's bring it back a little bit. Let's make it about half of that. That's pretty good. Now, the other thing that you can do, which is really nice, is you can come in here and you can apply perspective to it. I have no idea what perspective is going to necessarily do to this, but you can see I'm going to start adding perspective to it. And you'll see it'll ultimately warp it. You see it warping it? It's kind of making it looks like it's going in the distance. Look at that. Ha! Isn't that cool?
Oh yeah, yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Also,
look at that. I'm going to save that because I like to look at it. Even though you can't read it, I just like to look at that. I think that looks really great. Look at that.
Yeah. In another class, we had to do cards, postcards.
Yeah.
And that involved using this 3D to make it, and we then after using the 3D, we then expanded it and edited the pieces.
How did it work out?
It worked well.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting.
Right. Well, this is just a demonstration of the power of the 3D modeling. This is not really a very usable logo because you can't really read it. I just think it creates a great shape, and I wanted to show you that you have the ability to go in there and tweak this and play with this. Again, in order for me to really give you the full value of the 3D, we'd have to do an entire class just on it, and we'd have to experiment and play. But again, since we're talking about type tonight and tomorrow night, some of the things that I'm working on tonight are things that will give you some kind of ideas as to some of the extremes that you can go to with type. Another one that's kind of interesting is using a blend for types, where you take the type here like this, and let's say that we're going to make that, again, let's make it red. I kind of feel like red for logos tonight. I don't know why, but let's make it red. Hit OK. And then let's go edit copy, edit paste and back. And let's bring the thing let's bring the thing down. And let me scale this thing down to a smaller size. Shift-Alt, make it tiny. Like about like that. Okay? And I'm going to select both of these. Oh, and one of the things that I think I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one first and go Edit, Copy. All right, so what I did was I created my original logo. I duplicated it, moved it down, and made it smaller. You're all clear on that, right? There's no questions about how I did that.
Right.
Okay. I think another thing I'm going to do is select this one. I think I'm going to go a little bit darker. I'm going to come down and I'm going to modify the brightness aspects of this like that. Okay, so I have this one here, which is light. This one here is a little darker. And I also copied this one copied it to my clipboard. So now I'm going to select both of these guys. I'm going to go to the Object menu, and I'm going to go to Blend, and I'm going to go to Blend Options. And I'm going to take the Blend Options dialog box here, and I got three. Oh, by the way, have you guys worked with blends yet? Anybody?
Is that where you make one go down to the other, like?
Yeah, you're blending one into the other.
Yes.
So you have three different things that you could do here. You could go with smooth, color, specified steps, and specified distance. We could try specified distance, but I think the one that we're looking for probably is smooth color. So I'm going to leave smooth color for this. You can orient it either to the page or to the path, okay, which I'm not worried about right now. So I'm just going to let this go at smooth color with both of these selected. I hit OK. Then I'm going to come up to Object, Blend, Make. And look at that. I only got three. I wonder why that did that. Object. Let's go Edit, Undo. Let's see. Object. See, this isn't working right tonight. This isn't giving me what I need here. Let's go to Blend Options. Let's go Specified Distance. Nope, it's got to be Specified Smooth Color. Yeah, I don't know why this is just not doing it. It's actually giving me specified steps. Okay, now if I go Object, you know what? I got a better idea. Let's go Object, Blend. I got a way around this maybe. Let's go 300. Okay, so specified steps 300. Object, Blend, Make. There we go. Now we're in business. Okay? So you see what I just did? And now I'll go Edit, Paste in Front, and I'll come in here and I'll modify the color. And look at that. What do you think? Another interesting way to manipulate type. What do you think of that?
That is cool.
We're not done, though. What's really great about this is you can come in here now, and there's a spline. There's actually a spline in here. You see the spline?
Yes.
Okay. I can come in here with my direct selection tool, and I can click on this spline right here, and I can move the spline.
Awesome.
Or I can do something even more wild. I can come in here and I can get my anchor point tool, and I can click on this, and I can drag, and I can warp the spine. Isn't that nuts?
Yes.
So, you know, there's all sorts of things that you could do with that as well. And finally, I guess, well, we're still doing pretty good here time-wise. Another very important thing is putting strokes on type. So let's say, for instance, I wanted this to be, we'll go back to red again. Let's go to red, and let's make this red. So we have this red. Let's say I want to put a stroke on this. Has anybody talked to you about stroking text? Putting stroke around text? Anybody at all ever talked to you about it at all?
We were told to avoid that.
Well, that's because the person that was telling you that didn't know the trick that I know. You can use the appearance panel to put 50 strokes on something, and it'll look phenomenal if you use the appearance panel. The person that told you that probably didn't know this. So the key to this is understanding the appearance panel. So let me move this over and let me bring the appearance panel over here. So here we have our logo. It's red. And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click and I'm going to put a black stroke on it. So now I got this black stroke. And you know what? Look at this right now. It doesn't look too bad, does it? Looks all right. One problem I have is that this G seems to be in front of the LO. Okay? That's a problem. But what we can do here, let's do something real quick. Let's go edit, undo color. And let's go object, type, create outlines. Okay, so now I got this created outlines. Let's go object, ungroup. Okay, so now I've ungrouped this. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 letters. Okay, now you notice that the G is going in front of that L. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right, let me zoom in and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You see how that G goes in front of the L there? What I want to do is I want to merge the G and the L together. So I'm going to go to the View menu, Fit Artboard and Window, and let me move this over a little bit so you can get the idea what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on all 4 of my letters. I actually don't have to do this because the 2 O's are kind of like self-contained. Really all I need to do is click on the L and the G, all right? And if I go up to the Window menu and I come down and I get Pathfinder, are you guys familiar with the Pathfinder panel?
Yes.
Okay, there's also a Pathfinder or Shape Builder tool, and you could do the same thing with the Shape Builder tool. Let me zoom in and I'll show you what the Shape Builder tool can do. With the Shape Builder tool, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just saying that I like the Shape Builder tool. I used it in one of my logos. There's a tutorial on YouTube about how to make this really cool circuit board effect.
Yeah.
Shape Builder tool. It was really interesting and fun.
Great. So here's the Shape Builder tool. I'm going to grab it, and with the object selected, look at what happens. Every time I roll over an object, you see how I get the little pattern on it? That's telling me that object is an object that I can do something with. So here's what I want to do, just so that you understand. I have this piece here, and I have this piece here, which is attached to this. These 2 pieces are attached to this. I want to merge these 3 together. So using the Shape Builder tool, I click and I drag, and look at that. I've merged those 2 pieces together. Isn't that cool?
Yep. Now
I can do the same thing here. Watch. I can click on this and I can merge that together. And now that is one continuous piece. Really simple, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, here's the other way to do it. I'm going to go Edit, Undo, Merge. Edit, Undo, Merge. I've undone them. And I'm going to get my regular selection tool. This way is using the Pathfinder tool. Pathfinder tool is the old way to do it. The Shape Builder tool is the new way to do it. But it's essentially the same thing. You're going to select my 2 objects. The Shape Builder command is Unite. And I click on it. And that piece, when we come in and zoom in and look at it, that piece should be the same. Let's go zoom out a little bit. I went too far in. Scroll it up a little bit. There we go. So I can just see it. So when I click on this to select it, can you see now it's one piece? All right?
Yes.
You put this in Window. All right, so why am I doing that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because now if I click on this, I actually got to group it. So I'm going to go Object Group. I group that up. Now if I want to come in here and click on this and apply a stroke to it, watch the difference. You see what you get? Right off the bat, those things are merged together so you don't get those lines crossing the L. Can you see that?
Yes.
So that's my first step. Now I've created something which will work. So here's the deal. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to say that I want to put a stroke of about 6 points on it. And I deselect this, and look what I got. Does that look any good to you?
No, it looks like
No.
It looks pretty bad, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's, I think, why the instructor or whoever it was who told you not to use strokes on things, because under normal conditions, you end up with something like this. What happens essentially, just so that you understand, the stroke is centered on the letter. It's centered. It's not on the outside. It's centered. So half of the stroke goes into the face of the letter, and half of it goes outside the face of the letter. And what happens essentially is you start strangling the fill, and it ends up looking like this, which is normally not what you want, right?
Right.
So here's how we fix it, and here's how we create a nice stroke. I'm going to select this again, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to create a new fill, okay? And I'm going to make that fill red, okay? And I'm going to put a stroke on it. The stroke is going to be black to start off with, and I'm going to make it 6 again. There. Okay, so essentially, if I did, so see what we got? I got my stroke, 6-point black, a fill of red. I click on it, right? Looks exactly the same. Pretty bad, right? Here's the magic. Click on this. And you take your fill and you drag your fill up in front of your stroke. And look at that. Beautiful outline. Watch this. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go View, Hide Edges. Okay? And now I'm going to start beefing up my stroke. Watch this. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look at, isn't that great? Look at that.
Yes,
What do
really
you think of that?
Yeah, that is cool.
Okay.
You can also
What?
make the stroke on the outside or inside also.
Watch. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to get it selected, and I'm going to go Add New Stroke. Okay? And I'm going to move that stroke all the way to the bottom, and this stroke I'm going to make white. All right? And I'm going to go up 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You don't see anything. Create a new stroke. And this stroke will be red. See it? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Look at that. Look at that. What do you think?
very cool.
So, what did you learn? You learned essentially that strokes can be a fabulous thing if you know how to operate them properly. And the way to do it is by using the appearance panel. If I wanted to, I could put 13 strokes around this. I could also put effects on these strokes if I wanted to. I could select the strokes and I could apply effects to each one of these strokes. There's all sorts of things that you could do. I'm not going to get all involved in it because tonight is a combination of two things. It's a combination of playing around with type and playing around with some of the things that you can do with type. Why? Because you're working on a logo and because you're also working on a poster, and you're going to want to have something that you can use for both of these guys. Are there any questions or anything you want to ask me, or is there something you'd like me to show you?
I don't think so.
You're good? Does anybody think they might want to submit anything tomorrow night for me to look at? Any guys?
I do.
All right. Well, you know what to do. Send me an email, and in the email, just attach whatever it is that you want me to look at. All right, and then you'll be here tomorrow night, so we'll talk about it. We'll ultimately talk about it. That's probably the best way to do it, is just to have a one-on-one discussion where we go over what you did, and I'll say things to you, and you can question me about what I'm saying, and hopefully at that point maybe you'll get some better ideas. I'd send it as a PDF to me. And when you send it as a PDF, do you know much about making PDFs?
You want it to have where you can edit it?
Yeah. Let me show you. This is for everybody else because somebody else may want to do this as well. So let's say I've got everything the way I want it here. Let me close some of these things up for a minute and we'll do a real quick review of this because this is a valuable little lesson as well. Let me get these things out of here. Actually, move them over. This I can close. Image trace I'm done with. All right, so now I'm done with this, and actually I'm done with that. Okay, so this is my finished piece, let's say, and I want to be able to send this thing in. So essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to go File, Save As, and wherever you're going to save it, I'm in week 2, which is a good enough place. Come down here and just switch it to Adobe PDF, and then hit Save. And you get the Adobe PDF dialog box. All you really want to do, you don't have to worry about page thumbnails, creating Acrobat layers from top level layers. I'd leave that on. This is the one that's most important, preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. What's going to happen, just so that you know, when you send it to me, it's going to make it so that I can then reconvert this back into an Adobe Illustrator file if I want to. Okay, now you can also use presets up here. And I don't know how much you know about this, but Illustrator default is probably just as good as any for the project that you're working on right now, because that sets me up to basically open it up in Illustrator and convert it back to an Adobe AI file. High quality print, there's 3 different types of printing in here. You got high quality print, press quality, and smallest file size. So here's my question. Just out off the top of your head, has any one of your instructors talked to you about what the difference is between those 3?
Oh yes, my last teacher went through it at length.
Okay, so what is the smallest file size for, Eric?
For making the smallest file size PDF, so it'll send faster, better.
Well, actually, it would be, that's pretty much right, but if you were going to be using this to go on as a downloadable file, like for instance, if you had a website and you wanted to attach something to a website that the person could download and not necessarily print, that's what you would use, the smallest file size. It's the equivalent of setting something up for the internet. However, if you wanted to set one up in such a way that the person would download it from the internet and be able to print it out, say on a high-speed color copier or even a high-speed black and white copier, then you would use high-quality print. High-quality print is the mid-range file, and that's more or less for when you're going to print something out at Kinko's or Staples. I hope you guys know what a Kinko's and Staples is. Do you? Anybody not know what they are?
Yep, use them all the time.
Good. And then the third one is press quality. Press quality is supposed to be the higher level, and the reason that you would do this is because it might be going into a 4-color process environment where it's going to be separated and printed out using very expensive high-quality machines. So those are really the 3 reasons. Now, these other settings essentially are settings for specific purposes, and you would be directed to use them by a particular printer. So again, I mean, there's a whole lot you can go into with this, and I think Eric said, so does what I said there sound familiar to what they were teaching you before, Eric?
Yes.
Basically?
Yeah.
Yeah. So really just use Illustrator default and hit Save as PDF. And let's see, I think I saved it to my folder, which would be, let's see, where's my folder? Close this out for now. My folder would be right here. 116, nope, 116, that's not the right one, sorry. It's, where are you? Where did it go? There it is. Week 2. And my poster, it's not there. Where did I save it? Did I save it on the desktop? Well, wherever it is, it's lost. Don't know where it is. Artboards? Maybe that's it. Nope. All right. Well, anyway, I don't know where it went. I saved it somewhere. Let's try it again. Let me just quickly go in there and see where I saved it. Oops, that's the wrong one. Let me go in here and get Illustrator. And I'll save as PDF. Where did it go? Desktop, 3D logo. So it's on the desktop. Okay. 3D logo. Does anybody see it? There's all this junk on my desktop. I can't see a thing. I don't even see it. Nope, I can't see it. It's there somewhere. Anyway.
Is that it up there at the top next to DES 324?
324. Artboards PDF? No, was it? I don't think so. Artboards, I think, was one that I did last night.
Oh, okay.
I was showing them how to make multiple. Let me get that out of here because that's garbage. Color relationships. I don't see it. I don't know why I'm not seeing it.
It might have been in the DES 324.
I thought it said on. I thought it said on the desktop. So, what do we got here? Nope, I don't see it. Logo design? No, I don't see it.
In a Mac, you can search for it in the Finder. You can't do that in a PC?
Yeah, but I mean, it should be right here. I should be able to see it. It's not that big of a deal. I just was going to open it up and show you it. And actually, I would probably open it back up. But anyway, it's not really that important. You saw basically how I made the PDF. And I want you to make it very similar so that you can send it to me. I can open it up in Illustrator. You know, you can save this in such a way that, and all you have to do is basically deselect editing capabilities in the PDF, and it turns it basically into a JPEG type image where it's a flattened image and you can't get access to any of the objects, which is all right, you know, and it's even good in certain instances. But if you're submitting something to me and you want to have a discussion with me and you want to fool around with it a little bit, better to send it. And I don't want you to send an Adobe Illustrator file because I believe it's easier to just send the PDF. Send the PDF and send it. Make sure that you leave the editing capabilities selected. That's all. You know, again, no big deal. So I really, you know, I think I pretty much exhausted what I wanted to do tonight. We have another night tomorrow night. I got some more stuff for us to work on. Are there any final thoughts or questions or anything at all before we end it?
Only that you need to read my emails.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few that I sent.
Okay. I thought I did. I'm not sure. I thought I did.
No, I understand that you work too, so.
No, I thought I did. I thought I did read them. You're sending them to my regular email account, William Sweeney.
I go through the course itself and send them.
All right, I'll check that. I think they usually come to my regular email, but I don't know. I'll double check.
It was to do with discussion 1.
Okay. I'll double check. Melissa, right?
No, Francis.
Oh, Francis Bailey. I'm sorry. Okay.
There's no difference, isn't it?
Well, you know, you don't see faces, you just hear voices, and so it's Francis.
Well, you can see face, but I'll scare you.
I might scare you right back. All right, everybody. So I'm done. Is everybody else good?
Yes.
All right. So we'll meet again tomorrow night. And as I say, if you have anything you want to talk about tomorrow night, please feel free to prepare to do that. Send me some work if you want to, and I will discuss it with you tomorrow night. That's always a great deal of fun and very beneficial. We'll have a couple of more videos to look at, and I'll have some more fooling around to do with fonts. Any questions about your assignment or your discussion or your assessment? Anything that you need to say to me, or do you want to ask me?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, great. You guys have a great night. I will see you tomorrow night, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.